Hey everybody, welcome to another exciting edition of Uber Grace. Today I want to just try and expand our thinking a little bit about actually God, him, her, themselves. Okay? Because I think we have made a big error way back in the day. And it seems to me, and I think as we get older and we see more, maybe God isn't quite who we thought he was. Maybe he's actually bigger and better, but maybe he's not quite the cartoon Marvel caricature that we've made him out to be. Ooh! Anyway, if you like this message, please like, share, comment. If you're on YouTube, please press the follow button and comment and like as well. That would be great. The last few years have been a bit of a game changer for me. I've had all the answers. I was in part-time ministry, in a Bible-believing, really praying, Karabashandari kind of church, lots of prayer, top-quality worship, everything about it was good. And yet within that, I ended up divorced. Actually had a bit of a shell of a marriage, really, but it looked great on the outside, and when we announced it, everyone was really shocked. I had a really good friend who was just so godly and Bible believing, and the faith of that guy, and had a healthy lifestyle as well and healthy diet, and one day got cancer, and with 8 or 9 months he was gone. No amount of prayer, no amount of love from God, no amount of his faithfulness saved him or his ex-wife and 2 young children. Then another friend from the same church that I was in years ago lost her daughter to a road accident, and she was in a coma. So lots of prayer, lots of activity, lots of faith being poured out, and sadly the plug was pulled. And a year or 2 years later, still absolutely devastated by this. You know, we had COVID, and we had a friend of mine is a bishop in Africa, back in Reading, and he's got this prayer ministry going, and 4 hours a day, every day, his church is praying. And he's not the only African church that does this. There are so many little African churches right across the country and Africa, strangely. And they're just, every Friday night there'll be an all-night prayer meeting. They're really praying like... And yet COVID came along. Didn't make the slightest bloody difference, did it? Oh, did anyone see lovely Kenneth Copeland, standing there with his elders on stage, telling COVID to go back to hell where it can be? He took authority over it. And you know what COVID thought of old Kenny Babies' authority? Not a jot. You know, the only thing that saved us from COVID was the fact that viruses always do what COVID did, and it killed a few, and then it's died down a little bit, and now it's kind of just a nasty virus. That's what saved us from that, not all the prayer. Oh gosh, the amount of prayer schools I've led, and I've wanted people to really touch and be successful in their prayer lives and get what they desire. And I didn't desire divorce. I didn't want my mate to die. I certainly didn't want my other mate's daughter to die. I didn't want any of these things to happen. And yet, as all God-loving, God-fearing, God-faithful people, all these things jolly well happened anyway. And I'm not laughing about them particularly. It's just like, what are we doing? What are we doing? And I think the first thing really that's happened to me is that I have just seen my idea of almost what God is more than who. I know that might be a little bit anathema to some of you, but what is God more than who? And for most of us that have been in the church or are in the church, God is a being, a loving, benevolent being that answers some prayers and not others. And there's no real answer as to why that happens. And I just thought of another one. A guy who's written many books on healing and on faith in the scriptures and faith in God. He died of a cancer that he was healed of a few years ago. He died earlier this year, I think. He was knocking on a bit, but he died of cancer, not just old age, you know. And you think, what's all this teaching? Where's his father now? Where's this God that he was teaching for years how to pray? And then one of his mates in South Africa died of it. I think every part of his body just broke down. You know, and I'm not trying to call out people or anything. I'm just saying we have got who or what God is completely wrong. I'm sure of it. And of course I could be wrong still. I probably am. But I just want to let us think a little bit broader. And as I was talking about in the last one, that maybe God isn't, like Christ isn't Jesus' surname. Maybe God isn't a being in the heavens wherever they are. Maybe he is just being. It's a word we give to being. Life, love, wisdom, understanding. All these things that we can't really grasp and touch, yet have a slightly supernatural element to them, that maybe the quantum physicists are starting to scratch at the surface of maybe how it works, but not why. I don't know, but we're just... God for me now is just everywhere, in everything. Bible says, New Testament, Paul says, there is one God, one Lord, one Spirit. He says these things. There is just one. So it's not a surprise that us in the West have a different view of God to people in the Far East, and the American Indians, or the Native Americans, or the Eskimo Inuits, or whoever, have got a different view of the one great God that exists. But is he a God, or is he just being? Is he just the source of everything good and loving and positive? I don't know if you've noticed in the last few weeks, I keep coming, and if you go back to the last few videos, I'm up in the woods, apart from one video, I'm up in the woods, and a month ago it was absolutely bare here. And now it's just verdant with green and life everywhere. Trying to get to these logs to sit on is harder because it's covered in nettles, because life just keeps happening and happening. And this is God. God just keeps happening and pouring, but not like it's a guy in the sky in an office saying, right, let's hit enter because they've done well. Oh, his faith is quite good. Let's hit enter. I just don't think it's as crass as that, but that's actually kind of what we've turned God into. No, I think God really is much broader than that. And Jesus was the master who came to show us what God is really like. And he stepped into a very religious world, surrounded by lots of pagans from Greek and Roman world, with all their different gods. And he came with a message to say, yeah, God, look, everywhere. Look at the birds of the air and the trees in the field, the lilies. Look at the lilies. But no, God is in you. Just change the way you think, man. Hope you have a good day. I hope there's more questions than answers. See you soon.